What's up, guys? Today we're gonna take a look at Brogni, a fusion champion that probably many of you have in the game. And he has been very popular always. And I'm sure there is many videos about him and many use him in PvE. But he's actually also very good for PvP. And he's the kind of champion that if you have multiple of him, you might even consider using multiple for like tag team arena, or like you could basically use one for PvE, one for offense, and one for defense. But in tag team arena, if you don't have like lots of good champions, but you happen to have multiple of him, you could even use in multiple teams, like even in the same build. But I actually, let me show you. I actually happen to have 4 of him. Like, it's kind of funny because my Dwarf faction Guardians is only about him. But I have 4 of him, I have 2 of him built. I actually used to use him in my defense team in like last summer, just before I got Duchess basically. Or I even used him in my defense for a few weeks after I got Duchess, because I was only using Duchess in offense. But he's very good in defense as well, and kind of underrated for defense. But let's go through his kit first. Well, I mean, everybody basically knows his kit. I mean, the A1 puts a burn, nothing else special there. Then the A2, it increases the shield by the damage that it does. And it has chance to remove buffs and debuffs from teams, or like I guess does it if it's booked. But this part of the kit is not big deal for arena. You probably don't want to build him with any accuracy, though it might still sometimes remove some debuffs from your team, but nowadays there isn't gonna be too many debuffs used anyway, so. But the main thing about him is of course his passive and his A3. And basically it puts a shield, increase attack buff, and block debuffs up together. And this isn't really issue anymore because Tormin isn't popular like he used to be. But back in the day it used to be big issue that many champions will put block debuffs and other buffs. They put them in wrong like order, and you can get frozen before you get the block debuffs buff up on you. But on him he does it in the right order, so you won't get frozen. But Tormin isn't gonna be popular, it's not really a concern. The main deal with this skill is that it is kind of just very good general skill. It basically does the same thing what the Duchess does. And as you know, Duchess is very popular in, well, both defense and offense, but very popular also in arena offense nowadays. Much more popular than Arbiter. And he basically does the same thing, actually kind of better with this skill than Duchess. But there is another issue why he isn't used as much as Duchess in offense. But he is totally usable in offense, and you could use him in like a fast build in bolster or shield set in offense. But overall this skill is very good. It just has one issue with his passive. And this passive is also very good. When an ally under a shield buff is attacked, reflects 25% of the damage inflicted on the shield back to the attacker, also heals the ally by 25% of the damage inflicted on the shield. And this is very good passive for both PvE and PvP. But there is one big issue about this skill, and that is that it procs Mortu passive. So let's say Mortu does his like A2 on you and does like AoE hit. He's almost certainly gonna proc his passive, because all of the ticks that this passive does on him counts as hits and have a chance to proc his passive. And actually the same thing applies to Mitrala as well. Mitrala isn't as popular anymore. He used to be like, before Blessings, Mitrala used to be very popular in arena defense. And the issue with Mitrala is that if she goes first and puts her, what's it called? Petrification, or what's the skill? Puts the hex debuff on Tormin. Even on the skill placement itself, like the skill that puts hex debuff does damage, and if Tormin has a shield, not Tormin. If Brogni has a shield, this passive can proc and instantly petrify himself on the same time that Mitrala does his AoE. Like when Mitrala is still doing his AoE, he puts the hex first and then does damage. That's somehow how it works. And it can actually instantly petrify Brogni, like on the turn that Mitrala puts the hex debuff up. But yeah, that is kind of issue. The Mitrala part isn't really relevant, but the Mortar part is kind of holding him back for being very popular in offense. And he is used in offense. I primarily see him used in Cupidus teams as like the fourth. You use like Cupidus, Necret, Venus and him. But outside of those, you don't really see him in offense. You actually saw him more in offense back in the day, like maybe a year or two ago, when Duchess wasn't as popular as she is in offense as she is nowadays. But actually he is pretty good in offense. The only issue is those Mortu matchups, but against teams that don't have Mortu, he would be a very good option for offense, because he provides the entire thing. Like he gives you attack buff, he gives you shields, and he gives you heals as well. And he makes a very good pairing with like Bolster set and other champions that put up shields or are in Bolster. And also, of course, the other important part I think I didn't mention is that his A3 shield isn't removable. It's not very relevant in current meta, but it used to be more relevant, like before Blessings, in when Ceres and Kaimar were very popular in offense. But if we look at the builds that I have, let's quickly go through them. Yeah, so I have two of him. The other one doesn't have masteries. Like this, the one that has masteries, this used to be built for arena defense, and this used to be like my main one. But let's quickly go through PvE build. There is nothing too special about the PvE build. I use this for normal Hydra. This isn't like in my best gear. This is like the ultra leftover of my gear. So this probably could be a bit faster. Like if you were to use him in Doom Tower and in general PvE purpose, and if he's one of the main champions for you, as he used to be for me, like he used to be in way better gear than this. But if you do that, then I would at least gear him like 250 plus speed. Or I think there's some waves that are like more than 250, I don't remember exactly. I think maybe 258 is the fastest champion on Doom Tower waves. Don't quote me on that one, but it's something more than 250 I think. But yeah, this is very standard build. Like you will just go for speed and some HP and defense, and you could even consider both accuracy and resistance if you build him for PvE. I think there's actually one option for them. What's that one dragon called? Not Magma Dragon, but the one dragon that is boss for one rotation. The one that gives you the lifesteal set, like the better version of the lifesteal set. On that one, he could be used in resistance build, and he will be very good if you build him in resistance for that. And in general, he will be very good for Doom Tower if you build him in resistance. But you could build him without that, even without accuracy, or you could have some accuracy. It kind of depends how you actually use him and what kind of gear do you want to invest on him. But he will work even with like very like crappy gear. He will still do his job generally. But yeah, these are the masteries. Very standard PvE masteries. Nothing too special over here. And like for PV, like I kind of have the one that has masteries is on the PV build, but you don't really need masteries on him. Like of course, on a champion like this, War Master is very good, and also increasing your buffs is very good. But even without masteries, he's still useful, and unless you have other very good champions, he's probably still worth using. But so this is the second one I have, and this is right now actually built for arena defense. Now again, this isn't like I'm not using him anymore. Last summer I was using him for like several months, and I was using Cardiel, Brogni, Rotos, Necret team, defense team back then, and I actually placed like several times top 20 with him, like in row as well. I was actually doing way better back then than I've been doing like last couple of weeks with Taras and Maritzka. But yeah, this is actually kind of build you probably haven't really seen. This isn't offense build, this isn't PV build, this is actually for defense only. And the point with this build is that we built him like basically as slow as you can get. I mean, I could build him slower, I could build him in higher attack. Like if I put my Duchess gear on him, he will be like 140k plus HP and probably like almost 1k more defense. But this is kind of my a bit leftover gear. But if you build him super slow speed with bolster set and with reaction, then basically he will like he will have the big shields up at the start of the fight, and he's not gonna get crit most likely, and he basically will take no damage until he gets a turn, and then he puts another shield buff up unless he's locked out. But regardless, he's gonna be very stally and very annoying. And yeah, this build doesn't have masteries, but let me show you what the actual masteries I was using. Yeah. So here is what I would use if you use him for defense. And I left couple masteries out because there is a bit like different choices. But of course I would use polymorph on him, as I would on most arena defense supports. So if you use polymorph, I would use fearsome presence. But if you don't, elixir of life is also an option. And then it kind of depends that I wouldn't use cycle of revenge if you use him in a slow build for defense. But if you use him in a fast build for offense or for PvE, then I would definitely use this one. But let's see. Yeah, if I were to use him in offense, I would build him at least 250 plus speed, but in bolster as well. But about the blessings, basically I would use, I mean of course for PvE you would use what's it called, Brimstone, and for defense you will definitely always use polymorph. And I have another video about polymorph explaining the mechanics exactly, if you want to look that one up. Polymorph is kind of he's very good. Most people know that he's good, but often people don't just know how good polymorph actually is, and it kind of works better than people think it works. But then the third option that you could use as blessing on him is Life Harvest. This is kind of blessing that was only getting popular very recently, and it's kind of because of like Maritzka and like Maritzka being paired with Siphi and just in general like against arena defense teams with revivers. And what you could do in offense teams is that you use this blessing instead, and you typically see this blessing used a lot in something like Cupidus teams, and you could even have like multiple supports, like maybe you have both Venus and Brogni in this blessing, and you would reduce their max HP by very large amount, like up to 40% when they get revived. And yeah, it also gives you very good base stats, so it's actually totally viable blessing. But let's actually test some fights so that you can see how this works. And yeah, I'm showing now the slow like defense build, but you could use like the fast PvP version of the build, like the one in bolster and like 250 plus speed, that one will be very good for tag team arena, and you could probably use in multiple of team, you could use one of those. But this build is specifically for defense, so okay, I'm using Necret here, which is of course very good pairing with Brogni because they both have shields. But you could adjust this to like whatever you have. It's just I don't have a lot of silver right now, so I don't really wanna. I mean, I can't regear my champions, so otherwise I would have probably gotten masteries on this one or changed the gear to the other one that has masteries for this video, but I can't really afford to do that right now, but let's see. But yeah, I basically used almost the same team but with Guardial before, and it was my main reset defense for several months, but yeah. I mean, it's kind of like I explained before, Brogni shouldn't be taking any damage unless he gets very unlucky, because he has triple reaction, and because he's super slow, he's gonna, okay, in this team he gets locked out, but because he's super slow, he will not use his shield very fast, and when he does, then again it will take some time to kill him, but he should still, like, as you can see, Ukko still didn't die, my team is stalling a lot. For most people, a team like this would be very hard because they have like fast lockout and Necret and like strong nuker, so. And of course, Brogni Shields does have his issues in the current meta that against champions like Baron and Georgit, who are gonna ignore his shields. That is an issue. And definitely if you are like super high in arena, you will get attacked by those teams, but you can't win against every team, and yeah, it kind of depends. But outside of those champions that ignore shields, he is very strong. Let's see, can I find any... I kind of wanna find a fight with like a bit more old school. Actually, yeah, Cupido's team is a good example. So Cupido's teams are very good for offense. They are, in general, they can beat almost every type of defense team, and you don't need insane gear on them, and they are easy to set up. Now, this is kind of weird, Cupido's team, because it has a Duchess. Usually they don't have, because she will put a whale and it will be harder to hit Cupidos. But Ukko is gonna do AoE attacks, so it should work against my team. But also Brogni will provide shields, so let's see how this goes. And if you were to use him in defense, like I would definitely go for like 2 champions in bolster like I have in this team. Or 1 in bolster and 1 in shield. But yeah, I mean, as you can see, he's definitely like doing his like job, and also the shield doesn't just like reflect damage. Of course, it can even kill some nukers if they're squishy and they do big AoE nuke. But it also heals the champions, and of course it's very good combo with Necret, who will continuously put up new shields. But also specifically for Rotos, because his issue is that like he may get chipped down or die to multi-hits, and has a very low base HP, only like 12k. But Brogni will continuously heal him and keep him safe, and as long as he's like above 50% HP, he should be good. But yeah, I mean, maybe I should try one fight without Necret, because I'm sure some people will say that Necret is too good. Let's see. I mean, of course, like you need to like adjust like what you're working against. Like, of course, if I had some other champions, like let's say Taras, you wouldn't like. Necret is just very good combination with Rotos, so I wouldn't really very keenly use like Rotos in a team without Necret. But you could totally do it. You could use a different nuker that is maybe more tanky. Maybe you use him in like very tanky style defense with Mortu, and Mortu as the only nuker, but let's see. Is there any other interesting fight? Actually, let's try against this Taras team. This is a good tank check. Am I able to tank a Taras? Yeah, like, yeah. As you can see, that was pretty well. Like, they didn't have an insane amount of buffs. I don't know what was with his AI setup, but the Taras, of course, AOE hits insanely hard, and it scales with the number of like buffs that there is, and it's way too like overtuned. So, okay, looks like we will still in the end lose against this team. And of course, maybe if I would have paired this with another more tanky reviver instead of Ukko, it would have gone better. Actually, should I try that? But yeah, I think this will probably give you some understanding like what he can do. Maybe we don't even need to watch this rest of the fight. I might still probably win this, but let's just cancel it anyway. Yeah, I will probably win it, but just because my Rotos is good gear. But let's do another fight with different team. And of course, in defense, you're not gonna win most of the time. Actually, let's put that away. Let's try to make this a free-to-play friendly team, so there is no. Fuck, I don't have other champions in shield set right now. Like anything in the shield set would be nice, like even Mauli in shield set or like just anything, but yeah, okay, fuck it, let's just put Duchess in there because she's in bolster, and yeah, now this will be way tanky, but at least this is without Necrit now, so let's see how this goes. Yeah, because I kind of don't want to run him as the only bolster so that the team is tanky, but this team maybe will do better than the last team against this comp, let's see. And yeah, I wouldn't build Brogni with resistance for arena. I will just build him ultra tanky, like very high HP for defense. And for offense you would build him fast, but definitely I wouldn't consider accuracy or resistance. And yeah, I mean, with the defense, it is that like, generally you will lose most of the fights against good teams anyway. And just having your team be not super fast fight is good enough. Like, the main thing is that you don't want your defense to look like super easy and like weak fast fight. As long as you like stall the fights good, like if you get at least like, let's say 1 minute plus fights, that's generally good enough. You can't expect to win against everything, but of course, you know, like, I mean, you want to win, and of course it kind of depends who are you fighting against and what kind of account you have. And like, I have decent gear, even though like Brogni right now isn't in my best gear or even my like 5th best gear, but I'm pairing it with my Duchess, who has like my best gear, of course. But yeah, as you can see, this comp actually did like fairly well, and I kind of actually knew that this was gonna work. I feel also like UDK is kind of a bit underrated for arena defense. Like, of course, UDK is very good and everybody knows he's very good, and he's used a lot in offense. But actually, he is very good in defense as well. And maybe I will make a video about that later. Oh, one thing I guess I forgot to mention, I'm pretty sure I didn't mention. Like, I mean, I guess it's fairly obvious, but maybe I should mention it anyway. Like, I was using Frostbite set, 2-piece set. You could use Immortal or whatever you can fit. This isn't like anything insane, like I have better Frostbite pieces as well. Like, but I just like Frostbite. Like, Frostbite set is very good. Of course, the enemy often uses immunity, but not every team is using like Duchess. Like, often they're using like Arbiter with Necret, and maybe their nuker has immunity but not their entire team. and of course it will fall off, but it has 10% chance to proc frostbite on enemy, and it just can be like very frustrating, and it can even win you fights. Like back in the day, it kind of used to be my signature move that I had everybody or most of my team always in frostbite. And also one thing worth mentioning is that when you use Fearsome Presence with Ship, it also works with frostbite. So yeah, that's like, it's a double dipping part there. But yeah, I think that's about it for this video. Like, Brogni is definitely one of those champions that you can definitely, like, if you get kind of unlucky, if it's unlucky, kind of depends how you define it, but if you get unlucky like me, that you get multiple Brognis, actually you can totally use them. Like, if I was more early game, I could even consider using a third one. Okay, nowadays I'm not even really using both of them. Like, even like, just let's say like last summer I was using both of them a lot and they were in my best gear. But not anymore because I pulled Duchess and other champions. But if you're more mid-game, there is definitely reason to use even multiple Brognis. Like I said, you can use one for PvE, you can use one for arena defense and one for arena offense, and you could even use one in your every single tag team. Like, it depends what tag teams you are, but he's definitely way above average champion for arena, or just everything in this game. But yeah, that's it for this video, and the next video will of course be the arena reset on Monday, but see you then.